Hello, I'm Grin, and welcome to this Robocraft Infinity video. Well, if Robocraft Infinity was the standoff in a cowboy movie, this week would be the tumbleweed. Indeed, I had hoped that this week we would get the Big Boom update, as when they told us about it on the 24th, they said that it would be launching in the coming weeks, though unfortunately, I suppose the weeks are still coming. I mean, if we're getting technical, if it comes a year from now, it's still coming in 52 weeks, and those weeks are still coming. So regardless of when it launches, they've technically not lied, and I just hope the coming weeks that they refer to are coming relatively soon. But regardless of how soon they do come, this week's video is being recorded today because today is when I have the time to record it, so even if it launches between now and when this video goes live, well, I suppose I've missed it and I'll have to talk about it next week. But fortunately, despite the fact that there's no news, I still always have something to talk about, not least because I like the sound of my own voice. I mean, someone has to, right? So what are we talking about today? Well, I figured I should go into a bit of a wish list. This is essentially a list of features that I think Robocraft Infinity would either benefit from, sorely needs, or I think would just be neat and improve the game a little. And first up is what I actually briefly touched on last week, which is better recording options. If the game wants to continue building a community, one of the easiest ways of doing that is by making it easier for players to show off. If you've had a really good match, or you've built a vehicle that you feel is especially fantastic, it would be really nice if you could share it a lot easier. And I think a great way of doing this is by having an option to save gameplay footage. At the moment, if you want to show off a good match online, the only way of really doing it is if you have a capture card, and chances are, if you're not actually actively creating content online, you're not able to do that, as capture cards are not exactly cheap. So I think it would be really neat if Robocraft Infinity gave you the option that after a match, you could save gameplay footage if you so chose, have it linked to your gamertag in some way, and give you the option to share it with people in your friends list or what have you over the Xbox One. This is certainly not an unheard of thing in online video games, and I know you could do something relatively similar on Halo 3 back in the day, so I'm sure it's doable. And it would also be cool if, like Halo 3, when you're watching the playback, you have the option to move the camera around rather than it being locked in the position of how it was when you were playing. That way, you could get some cool shots of your vehicle. As I stated in the previous video, they are taking steps in the right direction for this, as when the Big Boom update launches in the coming weeks, they're going to allow you to remove the heads-up display if you want a cleaner image, so that's cool, but I think they could definitely take it further. And moving straight along to the second thing that I think they should really put in the game, and this is one that I think the game really needs, especially considering that a major part of this game is building bots, I think the game, in the editor mode, really needs an option to allow you to select parts. As it stands, the edit mode in Robocraft Infinity is very similar to that of Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, aside from the obvious controller differences, which, by the way, as a side note, it would also be great if they could allow us to change our controller layouts, but I digress. As I was saying, it's extremely similar, and in Robocraft Infinity's credit, it even has the mirror mode option, which is just amazing, and I really wish Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts had it, but it is missing one key feature. And really, if a game released this year is missing a feature that a game released a decade ago had, well, they kind of probably should implement it. The feature in question is quite simply the ability to select parts and move them around in the editor. Why this is so necessary is because at the moment, if you decide you want a vehicle to be a little bit longer than it is in the middle, the only way to do it is by deleting the entire front or the entire back of your vehicle, adding in the extra blocks, and then remaking the entire front or the entire back of your vehicle again. Why this is such a pain in the butt for someone coming over from Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts is because if you ran into the exact same situation in Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, which is, once again, a decade-old game, all you would do is select the front of your vehicle, move it a couple of blocks forward, and then add in the extra part to the center. In Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts, in the vehicle editor, parts selected as a group can be moved up and down, side to side, and even rotated. However, in Robocraft Infinity, not only can you not rotate select parts of your vehicle, but as far as I'm aware, you can't even do it as a whole. This can be really annoying because if you're not paying attention while building a vehicle because you're watching a movie in the background, you can get halfway through it and realize you've built it facing backwards, and there's nothing you can do about it, which I'm embarrassed to admit I've done more than once. and while in Robocraft Infinity, you can move the bot as a whole up or down, as far as I'm aware, you can't move it on the x-axis. Which means that if you built it off-center, the mirror mode's not going to be helpful for you and you can't just move it back into place, and even if you have tons of room at the front of your vehicle, if you've made the back too long and you come up against the invisible barrier, it means that you can't just move the vehicle forward a bit and take advantage of all that blank space, then build further on the back. You would literally have to start your vehicle all over again, which is really quite annoying if all you need is an extra 3 block spaces. And so those are the 3 or 4 main things that I think Robocraft Infinity would really benefit from having. It would be great if we could remap controllers, it would be excellent if we could record game footage, and it would be unbelievably helpful if they adopted some more of the things from Banjo-Kazooie Nuts and Bolts editor into the Robocraft Infinity one. And so that concludes my Robocraft Infinity wishlist. If you have some features of your own that you think the game would benefit from implementing, I would love to hear about them in the comments below or in the Robocraft Infinity channel within the Channel Grin Discord. And finally that brings us to the vehicle I built this week, which admittedly was a bit of a rush job. I only had roughly an hour and a half to play this week, so I built this vehicle in about half an hour, but it's supposed to be a Scarab from Halo 2. I think there's a great deal of polishing I can do in this vehicle, and there's very many areas I can improve on it, but I think it turned out okay, and certainly not terrible for a half-hour build. Also, its cannon on the top, I decided to be an air flat cannon because of it shooting down the pelican in the Halo 2 cutscene, which is kind of interesting, because it's actually the first time I've used a weapon of this type. And while I wouldn't really consider this vehicle to be entirely finished, I will put it up on the shed under the name of Kepri if anyone wants to use it. Feel free to play around with it and improve it if you wish. And with that, we've come to the end of this episode, so with all of that said and done, thanks for watching, and until next time, I have been and still am Grim Grindle. If you wish to follow me on Twitter, a link to that is in the description below, and if you would like to join the Channel Grim and Grin Discord, the Echo Chamber, a link to that is also provided. This comment about my voice said I sound like Junkrat. Well, I don't really see it, but I probably could sound like him if I just talked a bit more like this. Hooly dooly, what a comment! There's not an Australian out there that can't do Junkrat! Feel free to make fun of my voice. It's not like I have a short fuse or anything.